Hello and welcome to this episode of How To. Today we're talking about how to apply for a job. There's a lot of people out there who currently don't have jobs, who are looking for jobs, so we thought this was a really important topic to cover. Apparently in California, the unemployment rate is 5.1%. However, in Solano County, it's 1.1%, so I think we're doing pretty good. Joining me today is Leslie Sexton. She is a Human Resources Technician. Thank you for joining me, Leslie.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being here. The city of Fairfield, how many employees do we have? 700 full-time? Do you know, somewhere around
I want to
there?
say 700 is a good number, but I think that includes
Part-time.
full-time, part-time, and
Gotcha.
elected and
Gotcha.
commissioners.
So would you say like there's just like a constant influx of applications coming in all the time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. We have not had trouble really getting applicants and moving people through. Some jobs require certain certifications or certain licenses that those ones are harder to recruit for, but for
Right.
things like an administrative assistant or a management analyst, those minimum qualifications don't require anything extra special other than experience and education.
Got it.
We get lots of applicants, and we screen them manually. By the way, we don't use something to do the screening.
Right. So speaking of that, when someone wants to apply for a job, is like say they have experience as an admin assistant, do they have to wait till there's an opening, or is there just like a general application where you would keep those types of applications and pull them up when there's an opening, or do you only have an opening when you have an active recruitment?
We only have an opening when there's an active recruitment. So there is a function, if you go to our website and you look at our job descriptions, you can turn in what's called an interest card. And there is an option for it when you click on the specific, if it's administrative assistant, you type that in, you click on that job description, and there's an interest card. You'll put in your email address, and it will notify you when we open an administrative assistant position.
Oh, very cool.
And
Okay.
I think it holds on to that information for a year maybe or something along those lines. So you do have to like resubmit, but I think the last time I did it, which was years ago, it emails you and tells you your interest card's about to expire and you could go and re-up it. So if there's any job at the city that interests you, but it's not open, just go turn in one of those cards and you'll be notified right away, and you can log right on and take care of it.
What is the first thing that they would need to do to apply for the job? Obviously, fill out the application. So when they have the application filled out, I've always heard there were certain keywords you should include. Can you kind of give us a hint on some of those, or what they should be sure to include in their application?
Yes. So again, you want to look at the minimum qualifications. You want to make sure that you meet them. That's the first thing we look for, and you'll be screened out if you don't. If you'll look and see how many years of experience you may need, how much, what type of education, whether it's high school or equivalent, do we need a bachelor's degree? And then also if there's any licenses or certifications that are needed. So for the most part, most of our jobs require a driver's license, but some require a certain type, more than a Class C, like a Class A or a Class B. Some require certifications in whatever field you're in, and sometimes you need them immediately. Sometimes you have time to get them as you start the job. So just all that language is written in the MQs. Make sure you read them before you apply to make sure that it's something that you can apply for. So I highly recommend actually reading the whole announcement from top to bottom, and including words that are in the knowledge, skills, and abilities section in what you do is very helpful for us. Makes it easier for us to screen you, but also is very, very much lets us know that you have the experience needed for this specific position. I'm literally looking sometimes deeply into what you write as your experience to make sure you pass. If you don't write anything, or if you're trying to get an admin job and you have you have admin experience, but all you put was you worked at Target as a cashier and didn't list the other things, I'm gonna not move you along.
So that's a huge clue. Like, first of all, read everything super carefully, and maybe even pull like a highlighter and like highlight the MQs. So if it says something specifically like proficient in Microsoft Office, then I want to make sure I put proficient in Microsoft Office. And if I'm not proficient, maybe I would put Microsoft Office experience or something like that. Okay.
Very important.
Okay.
And so we're always looking into that and to make sure that you meet them, to move you along. And then of course, when you're going to the subject matter expert, we go the dive is deeper
Right.
when we get there. But first and foremost, you got to meet those MQs.
So once an applicant submits their application, what is like the kind of the timing, the length of the process before you get back to them and move on to the next steps? Because I know sometimes it can take a little while.
It can. So the recruitment is open for a period of time, and that time is posted.
Right.
2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. We do have the occasional open and continuous, but let's just say it's one that's going to open and close in a period of time. We try. Can't always promise this is going to be the case every time, but we try to screen as we get them. And if you don't meet the MQs, we'll notify you as soon as we're able to. And hopefully it's within enough time that if maybe I missed something or you missed putting something in your application, you can reach out to us and go, hey, I do meet the MQs. Why did you DQ me? I can tell you, you didn't say you had this, or you marked no on having a driver's license and it's required.
So would this be a case of turning it in at the beginning before the deadline? So in case you miss something, you can catch it before the deadline?
Yes, because we do allow you to reapply. So just because you get DQ'd the first time around before it closes doesn't mean you can't reapply again. So if I tell you, well, you marked no to this requirement, if you actually have that requirement, reapply and mark yes, and then I will look at your application again and reconsider it. We try to have a pretty quick turnaround as far as like you're disqualified, or maybe we're inviting you to a written test, or we're inviting you to an interview or something.
Got it. Will this be an email follow-up, or is it actually like a letter in the mail? I'm assuming an email now.
Yep. And so again, NeoGov, our applicant tracking system, we send emails through there.
Okay.
And it's one of those things that when you're in this process, because the email is coming from probably an unknown source, always smart to check your junk and spam folders just in case.
Yeah,
I have had
sure.
people reach out saying, I didn't get the email, and I'm like, did you check your junk? And there it was, and they missed the test or they missed an invite. So always keep that in mind, and if you are applying for government jobs through that website, maybe finding a way to make that a safe email address for future correspondence.
That's a great tip. Good to know. Okay, and so then once you get the yes or no, how long till the interview and hiring, or does it just vary depending on the job?
It will vary depending on the job. We try to keep things moving, so it might be a week or two, then you'll get invited to an interview or a test. I always tell people, if you haven't heard in a week or two, please reach out, because it could simply be we've just been busy, so we haven't had a chance to reach out. It could be also, we're waiting on an interview date from the hiring manager, so we're just a little behind. It's always okay to reach out and ask.
Stay tuned, and we'll be back to talk about how specifically to apply for a job, the do's and don'ts, what you should know, what you need to include in your application right after the break. Welcome back. I'm here with our HR technician, Leslie Sexton, talking about how to apply for a job. Moving on, I have been invited for an interview. What is some good interview protocol? What would you suggest? How early should I show up? What should I wear? That type of thing.
I think with anything, 10 to 15 minutes early is probably safe. I think that allows you time to find parking, to find where you're going, once you get to the building, because maybe it's there's more than one building around there and you have to find your way. Maybe there's a little traffic, something along those lines. 10 to 15 minutes gives you that buffer. And also you have a moment to sit down, take a breath, gather your thoughts. Because if you're running behind or you get there right on time, it could cause a little anxiousness or within you, so giving yourself a moment to breathe. And I was raised that on time is late, so being early is always a good thing.
Right. That's a really good tip, because I think that's super important that you're not just flying in there and you're sweaty and you're nervous, and this just adds that. It gives you a time to kind of like you said, refocus and kind of think about, is there anything you should bring? Should you bring your resume? Should you bring a notepad and pencil, pen?
Unless we have specified to you that you need to bring something, you don't need to bring anything. We have your application. If you attached a resume to your application, we have your resume, we have your cover letter, anything like that. You can bring it. We will accept it. We're not going to turn it away or tell you to get rid of it. But I'm just saying you don't have to. You can save the paper. And as far as like what to wear, if it's a more formal interview for an admin job or something, business attire is good.
Okay.
Blazers, button-up shirts, blouses, slacks, all that kind of stuff. Great choices. As long as you're feeling good, that helps too.
Is there any color you should avoid?
Not that I know of.
Okay, interesting.
I love colors, so I'm going to wear a bright color probably no matter what. But I will say that sometimes you might be invited to a performance exam.
Oh, okay.
Instead of an interview, or maybe you do the performance exam and then an interview.
Okay.
Your interview invite will specify whether you should wear like workout clothes or something a little more casual, because like for a utility worker, they do a performance exam, they have to identify tools, they have to shovel, they have to drive a truck, and we don't want you showing up in a suit doing those things.
Right.
And or like police, if you're going to go do like a physical agility thing, you're going to wear something comfy, or fire too, so read those notices carefully so you know if you need to bring something and what you should wear if there's a requirement. If we don't say anything about your clothes, I would assume nice business,
Is there, during the interview process, that could be really unnerving, will there normally be a panel, and like, is there a good way to prepare for that?
Yes, there will be a panel. Our oral boards always have panels. I want to say there's usually 3 to 4 raters on there.
Okay.
And they're briefed beforehand, and I know it's nerve-wracking, but everyone there is rooting for you. Nobody's there to wanting you to fail. They want you to succeed and do well, because we're looking for the best candidate we can. And if you need questions read again, or you have questions, that is a good time to bring those things up or ask, can you read that question again? At the end, they ask if you have questions or if you have anything else to add, and that can be your chance to, if you have a question about the department or about the job, moments to have there. But
speaking of which, is it good to have some, should I do like a background check on like where the department I want to work for, kind of what they've been doing? Like, is it good to have questions to ask?
I think it's important to do a little research before you go. Not that we're asking you in-depth questions about like, oh, well, what is the city of Fairfield's, motto, and what are we doing? Like, we're not going to go that far, but like of course it's going to make a really good impression if at the end, when you're explaining, your last chance to be able to sell yourself.
Right.
If you know that, the city of Fairfield was founded on this date, who's our current city manager, who's going to be your director? I mean, it doesn't hurt. If we're not asking you that question in the oral board and rating it, it's not going to affect your score or whether you move along or not. But it's nice for people to put in that kind of effort to know that you care. Yeah. Because I will also say sometimes on people's applications, they're applying to multiple places. I totally get it, but it'll ask you like, what's your goal? And somebody will say, oh, my goal is to work for the city of Benicia, but they turned it in for the city of Fairfield. And we notice those things. Right. So, taking the time to pay attention to those little details and let us know that you do actually want to work for the city of Fairfield, and something about this job is important to you in a way.
Questions are there standard interview questions that you should familiarize yourself with before you go to an interview, or?
Depending on the job, there could be some very specific questions about, if you're trying to be an engineer, there's going to be engineering questions on there, right? But I know in the past for me, and even helping my husband get jobs, that I will go online and I'll look up standard interview questions, situational questions like, have you dealt with a difficult customer? How did you do that? What's a project you work on that you saw from start to finish, and how did it go, and was it successful, and like what made it successful? There are questions like that do get asked frequently. I can't promise that or guarantee that, but some of those questions show up a lot. And just even thinking about those questions, we may not ask that same question, but maybe the scenario you came up with in your head, like can be used for that as well. Right. So I think going through and having scenarios in your head of different things you've done, accomplishments, and even thinking about negative things, like a time when you did something and failed. We may ask you that question, and how did you handle the failure? Right. Because that's important too. Okay,
so we have filled out the application. We've had the interview. What's the next step?
If you pass the oral board, likely you are going to be put on what is called an eligibility list. This list exists for up to 6 months. Departments can choose to extend it for up to 18 months total, but that's up to them if they need to or want to. And then once you're on the eligibility list, the department gets to go through who is on that list and decide who they would like to bring back for a second interview or a hiring interview.
Cool.
And you'll get contacted by the department to set that up. Those interviews are usually a little more casual, a little less stressful, because it'll be you and the hiring manager just mostly having a conversation.
Nice.
To get to know each other. You can ask more in-depth questions about the department. They can ask some more questions about you and your background, and it's not structured, you're not getting scored.
Right,
And then from there, depending on how it goes, either you get the job offer or you don't, but you remain on that eligibility list. We have a lot of jobs at the city that, titles I should say, that many departments have, like administrative assistant, office specialist, things like that. So maybe you don't get this office specialist opening, but you're on that list and another department goes, oh, I need an office specialist. So instead of running a whole new recruitment, we'll offer them the eligibility list that exists, and they can go through it, and you may get invited for another interview for another department. So it's a nice list to be on.
Okay, good to know, good to know. Last but not least, what are the perks of working for the city of Fairfield? Can you tell me just a little bit about the benefits?
Well, like the personal benefits, you you work for the city, so you know that the things you're doing, the people you're hiring are here to make the city a better place. Fixing our streets and putting out the fires and arresting the bad guys. So many good, wonderful things are happening. So there's that satisfaction of giving back to the community and knowing that you're doing, your duty to the community to make it a better city. One of the great things about working in government as a general is the benefits. So we have 3 choices to choose from as far as medical. So you have options, which who doesn't love options? And they're good comprehensive packages, dental vision, of course. We have 457 plans for adding into your retirement. So you're not just, we're CalPERS, so you're not just paying into CalPERS, but you can put money into the 457 or a 401 so that you can put money away for the future, which makes me feel, like one day I can retire and this is going to be good. And we have retirement health savings plan, which is, I didn't have that at the county, so when I got here and I learned about what that was, knowing that that's something that is getting paid into for my future medical needs when I'm older and retired, is so good. So I don't know. It's
the hours are great. Not for everybody, but for a lot of the jobs, the hours are great.
Yeah, that Monday through Friday. A lot of people have that 980 schedule off on certain Fridays, or you get that Suite 410 or whatever. But yeah, obviously if you're in law enforcement, a sworn position, you are going to work odd hours. Some jobs may require you to be on call more often than others. So depends on what you're going for. But for the most part, yes, it's a great schedule. So you have your nights and weekends free for family time or all the other fun things you like to do in your life.
Thank you so much, Leslie, for joining me. I really appreciate you being here and giving us, sharing with us your time and your knowledge on applying for a job, because that's such an important thing to know how to do properly.
Yes. Read the whole job announcement.
Yes, for sure. All right, well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on our How To.
To view more programs like this, follow the City of Fairfield on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.